stopped it. Where's the puck? It came loose on the other side.
On the forecheck, and just recognition of having someone in their place and keeping them in their place versus just being all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my composure as a coach has definitely changed. And just out of professional development and going to different USA Hockey clinics, just the rules that are being put in place and the way that the game is changing. So,
Cool. Well, sort of staying on topic, you said you're a coach at Lake Forest Academy with your dad,
Yep.
right? Can you talk a little bit about the Lake Forest Academy hockey program? Because it's been successful, and you can talk a little bit about that. And I just want to hear like where you see that program going, or where you see it at right now.
absolutely. So we moved to Lake Forest in 2006, and the program was strong, but it wasn't nationally ranked in any way. It was kind of still on par with your traditional varsity hockey high school in Illinois.
Sure.
And over the years, we've had some pretty impressive players come through the program. When we got there, Teddy Purcell was there. Matt Eustaski's gone through. Charlie O'Connor's gone through. Both the Brinkett brothers have gone through. So I think as the school has evolved, so has the hockey program. Because when we got there, I've been told this in passing. I don't necessarily know if it's true. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, Lake Forest had a little bit of a bad boy reputation.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where people, not necessarily like a second chance school, but kids who were struggling either in their hometown or got into trouble in some way, they got sent to boarding school. And I think that was probably just more the mindset of boarding school across the U.S.
Sure.
But when we got there, that's probably the scariest hockey team that I've ever been around, because they were all enormous. They were all just bad to the bone guys. And as time's gone on, I would say that reputation has shifted a little bit, because now it's a very high-end school. So, I mean, our goalie 2 years ago got a 36 on his ACT and just committed to Air Force, and like they're better kids than I even 4 years prior could have been. So the program itself runs 2 seasons. They start in August and we're part of the Midwest Prep Hockey League. So we'll play schools like Gilmore and Stansted and Shadyside in our own specific league. But that means they have a lot of traveling to do, because the closest team to us in our league is Gilmore, and they're in Ohio. And then everyone else is in...
That's the closest?
Yeah, everyone else is in Quebec, Ontario, Pennsylvania, Vermont. So it's a lot of traveling for these kids. And I would say probably in a regular year, 12 or 13 of their weekends in between September and January are spent on the road, either in Canada or the East Coast or all over. So they're committed from a young age. But on top of that, they're enrolled in an institution that probably dishes out 4.5 to 5 hours of homework every single night.
Jeez.
So, yeah, making little professionals out of these kids.
I mean, they're making them well-rounded, right?
Yeah.
And with that being said, like, you have a lot of these kids that you're coaching that are probably very talented hockey players, but they're also very smart, and they have a lot of future prospects outside of hockey. Like, roughly, like, how many of your students, like, just have their eyes set on, like, a professional hockey career, and how many of them are, like, I'm just doing hockey as like a fun sport thing, and then I'm going to go do something else? Like, do you have a good idea of what that looks like?
So our program has 2 different teams. We have a varsity level hockey team that plays other varsity high schools in the area, and then our prep program is our top program. I would say most of the kids on prep still have the mindset of hockey. And I think as you get older, as you approach college, those decisions are kind of made for you. I think that,
Really?
yeah, if you're 18 and no one has talked to you yet, I think people start to recognize I'm at a very good high school. Would I rather go to a top-end college and kind of start my professional life, maybe play ACHA hockey or start a club at my school, but end up going to a Dartmouth or
Sure.
Harvard? Or would I rather kind of risk it in the junior world and try to see if I can find something of it? I would say that of the prep team, for being high schoolers, they have unbelievable foresight that I would
Really?
say your average high schooler doesn't have. They're very transparent and they're very kind of honest with themselves. And I think they kind of know where they'll end up from the time they turn 16 or 17.
I gotcha.
So they kind of break into those two categories of the kids who are already talking to major junior programs, have already been drafted in the USHL, have already been committed to a Division I program, and then kids who maybe are talking to a lower end junior league or who'd like to dabble elsewhere in the college hockey world, still focused on the career after hockey. So it kind of happens for them.
I got you.
But any kid who is just playing hockey for fun usually chooses the varsity program just because there's so much less of a commitment.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to join the prep team just for like a
Just for
laugh and a
fun, yeah.
giggle because you forfeit basically your entire social life
Yeah.
in high school within those months because you're either away or you're prepping for a 2 or 3 game weekend at home, and then all the other time is spent catching up on your work. So
It's like a professional commitment in and of itself.
it is. And I would say that in my experiences with junior teams or collegiate teams, the commitment of that program, I would say, exceeds many programs, even at a higher level. Just because like when you're playing at a higher level, a lot of your commitment and expectation is rooted in hockey. And then
Yeah.
the things that you do on the side are all very optional. And you have the full ability to wake up in the morning, get a lift in, skate, and then play NHL for 7 hours straight. And as long as you're performing, it is what it is.
Wow.
But at LFA, through our program, this isn't a school requirement, it is a coaching requirement. All of our athletes have to play an additional sport after our season ends.
Wow.
So our guys either go to track, lacrosse, baseball. So their athletic requirement doesn't even end. They're required to have a specific GPA and keep it up there. They're required to submit all homework and tests before trips. They're not allowed to do makeup work. They have to be proactive. And they have to be involved in at least a single extracurricular club. So they're really becoming well-rounded people outside of just being good hockey players.